All right, so our next set of notes is Studying Life. It's chapter 1.3 in your textbook. Remember that we are taking Cornell notes, so you need to draw your line on your paper. That's about an inch away from the margin. You're going to title the top of the notes with Studying Life, chapter 1.3. Make sure you label the page. You should be on your next empty page, even if it's the back side of a page. You're going to take your notes on the right, and you're going to do your signature and date on the bottom. When you are all done with the notes at the end, remember that you're going to draw a line across the bottom, even if it's on the next page, and that's where you're going to have your summary. This time your summary will be a written summary, and you will write at least 5 sentences summarizing what you learned in this set of notes in your own words. So what is life? What makes something a living thing? In biology, living things are always organic, which means that they are made up of carbon. When you go to the grocery store, you've probably heard of the word organic. You want to buy organic fruits and vegetables. That's a different definition of organic. That means that it's made or grown without pesticides or other things added to it. In this class, when we talk about organic, it means that it's made up of carbon. So all living things are organic or made of carbon. And they have 8 characteristics of life. The 8 characteristics of life are that all living things are made up of cells. They're either unicellular, made up of one cell, or multicellular, made up of many cells, like animals, trees, even humans. We're multicellular. Bacteria is an example of a unicellular organism. All living things also reproduce, and they could reproduce either sexually or asexually. Maple trees reproduce sexually. When you guys have allergies, you're allergic to pollen, you are actually allergic to sperm from plants. A hydra is a type of organism that can reproduce asexually by budding. There is a picture of a hydra in your textbook. All living things also have genetic material. Deoxyribonucleic acid is DNA. All living things also grow and develop. Everything has a life cycle. For example, a fly begins life as an egg, then it becomes a maggot, and then it becomes an adult fly, and the cycle continues. Living things also have metabolism. Metabolism is a need for materials and energy. We, as people, as humans, we obtain our energy from the food that we eat. Plants obtain their energy from sunlight. But we have a need for the materials, we have a need for this energy so that we are able to function. All living things also respond to stimuli. So leaves and stems of plants grow towards light is an example of how a plant might respond to a stimulus. All living things maintain what's called homeostasis. Homeostasis is the internal balance that your body must keep. So for example, we need to keep to our specific body temperature to be healthy and to stay alive. If it gets too cold, our body shivers to help increase our core temperature. If it's too hot, we start to sweat to cool down. And that helps us keep at the exact right temperature that we need to stay. So that's keeping at homeostasis. All living things also evolve. So as a group, living things can change over time. Okay, one individual person, I can't evolve. But as a species, human beings over time have evolved and have changed. Plants that live in the desert, they survive because they have become adapted to the conditions of the desert. They have spines that protect them, or needles that protect them from animals eating them. They have a thick waxy coating on their stems or on their leaves to help keep moisture inside. So they have evolved, they've adapted to live in that environment, and so they've changed over time. Now, all living things contain those 8 characteristics, but there's different ways or different ways to organize life, or different levels of that organization. So the biosphere is the part of Earth that contains all of the ecosystems. And the ecosystems are communities, but also include their non-living surroundings. So if you look in this picture, you see the hawk, the snake, the bison, the prairie dog, the grass. Those are all living things. But part of their ecosystem are also the non-living things like the stream, rocks, or the air. Communities are groups of populations that live together in a defined area. So they don't need to be the same species, but they all interact. Populations are groups of organisms of one type that live in the same area. So here in this example, we have the bison herd. Next, we go down to the organism level, an individual living thing. If we go even farther, deeper into the levels of organization, we have groups of cells, so your tissues, your organs, and your organ systems. And then we have individual cells, which are the smallest functional unit of life. And cells are made up of molecules, which are groups of atoms and mostly chemical compounds. So now we are at the end of our notes for the day. You need to put your questions on the left-hand side and then add your summary with 5 sentences down at the bottom of your page.